I hope it's going to be a great session. Just to let you know that NAM Info Inc. Is the one which has started this technology crystal ball, as Arvind said, and this is our third webinar. Our intention is to bring the latest technology or the trends to all our followers and all our partners and our employees, and this is one of the I think thing which we feel we are very proud of, that we have created this, and we will continue to push this. And gurus like Nithin are here to help us, okay, make people understand, the latest technology like crypto. So we will be talking about it. Our other company, which is NRI, that's a platform for South Asians, and it's a basically where you can kind of collaborate with each other. It's a community, and it's also e-commerce platform where you can buy things which are probably more related to the needs of the South Asian community. So we'll be talking about that in the near future in more detail. The product NRI is already launched, and if you want to visit and see, it is aaonri.com, right? And later on, if you want to contact us regarding that, please do talk to Arvind or me, and we'll be able to give you more details about NRI. So let's get in the deep dive into now the crypto, right? It's a very hot subject of the day, and so we have made the way we are organized. It is we are live on the Facebook. So if you have any questions, please either you put it in the chat window over here. If you are on the Facebook, you can put it over there, and our team is monitoring your questions. We will like to ask those questions live from our panelist, Mr. Nithin, and then in the beginning, I am going to start with some questions which we have planned to start the conversation, and during the the conversation will keep monitoring, and we will ask your questions. So we want to rather which we have bring in plans. We need to bring in as many questions as possible from the audience, and so please put in your questions and be patient, and definitely your questions will be taken up. So let me start with one of the the hottest thing today, rather, right, which has happened, which is on everybody's mind, and that is what is going to happen to crypto due to this latest conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So Nithin, starting with a very hot topic today itself, rather, right? Okay, right. Please go ahead.
Once again, thank you very much, Vinay, for having me here, and NAM Info for holding such a session so that people can learn about the technology or understand the ethos. Regarding the question with the conflict of Ukraine and Russia, as I always tell people, I wish I had the crystal ball to predict what would happen. If I knew that exactly what would happen, as I always say, I would even sell one piece of my kidney, take a loan with that. If I exactly knew what would happen, I would make a bet with it. And since I'm so sure I have the crystal ball, after it makes the returns, I would pay it back and buy another kidney. That's what I would do. Okay, I'm a true investor or a true gambler. Let's put it that way. So, but generally, typically when conflicts happen, there will be a flight for people will try to protect whatever wealth they have. Typically after wars, it is poverty, because war is destruction. And there will be a lot of poverty that comes out after it, since it's destruction. And people will try to save their money somehow or the other. Now in Russia, there are sanctions happening to the oligarchs or Russian accounts. Can't say the exact thing, is it going to be, is that going to work? Like the sanction going to work? I don't know. I generally feel crypto will get a boost because it's war and people are going to move their money to something which is safer rather than being in whatever is the Ukrainian local currency or the Russian local currency, for sure. Okay, that's my general take.
Thank you, Nithin. That's interesting, rather, I think, and that brings me to, one of the statements you made, because this is very relevant. The money loses its value, right? And in the war, it is going to lose the value very, very, kind of sharply. Some cases, like ruble may lose the value, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So because of that, people may either like to move to dollars, or they may like to move to crypto also, right? That's the possibility is there, right? Because at least that will not kind of lose value like my ruble Ruble may just kind of die rather, right? Because of this war. That possibility is there, right? So you made a very interesting statement in one of the presentation I attended for you, and that was that in a dollar versus crypto we are talking about now, the dollar depreciates and crypto appreciates. So is it a fair statement?
Well, it is. Just not dollar, okay? Any fiat currency. So dollar is something called a fiat currency. So let me just explain that. Most people, if you don't understand what a fiat is, it's paper currency issued by the state or the government, like a Federal Reserve in the US, or it's the RBI in India, the Indian rupee. It's not backed by anything. It's not like, US has so much gold and that many number of currencies they're going to issue. It's written on the US dollar, in God we trust. It's pretty much something like that. It's just trust, and it's a belief system. People believe in the US government and their ability to pay their debts. So dollar has value. So fiat currency, if you really look at it, it's the same piece of paper. Some of them have $1 printed on it. Some have 10, some have 20, some have $100 printed on it, right? It's just a different color or a different president's picture. And when we take that to a store to buy something, for a $100 note, we get more stuff. For a $1 note, we get less stuff, right? But generally, it's the same piece of paper. It's just different colors on it. Now, these papers, usually when in countries like, in our lifetime, I mean, it's in the recent past, two countries where I can show an example is Venezuela or Zimbabwe. They printed so much of their Venezuelan dollar or the Zimbabwean dollar that even the bathroom tissue paper cost more than this, which means that this is not even good for wiping your ass. That's how bad this dollar is, right? Or this paper is. So over time, what happens is the state or the government prints money. There are various reasons they're going to print money. And when they do that, what is going to happen is the more they print, people won't want it. You have plenty of something. So what happens? People are going to take whatever wealth they had, which they had in the fiat currency, and going to move it to different assets. It can be commodities like gold or silver. It can be stocks. It can be real estate. It can be crypto. It can be many other things like this. It can be watches, paintings, because all these things at that point in time, the price will rise because people are trying to buy it. So fundamentally, any printed currency over time is going to depreciate with respect to any other assets most of the time. Okay, majority of the time it means it can have slight fluctuations. Like you look at Bitcoin, it went from 65,000 to 35,000. You can say, oh, dollar is doing better. But if you take a longer period of time from 2009 to 2021, Bitcoin has gone from 0.01 cents to $65,000 or $35,000. If you take that long history, so you take the US dollar for $1, what you could get in 1914, you can't even get 1/99th of that for that dollar today, right? So it is losing value over time. Every other currency, not just the US dollar. It's just that US dollar may be better than the Indian rupee or the Russian ruble or the renminbi or the euro or Swiss franc, but everybody is losing. Every currency is losing value.
Because there is a question already for you, looks like, and I don't know whether you can read it.
Yeah, I can say that investment in a foreign currency is backed up by that country's GDP, natural resources. What is cryptocurrency backed up by? So first, let me explain that question. People are assuming the amount of money that India or US prints is backed by the GDP. So if that's the case, the GDP of US is 22 trillion. The amount of currencies in digits that they have printed is way more than 22 trillion. So it's not backed by anything. It is just backed by trust. For all the Indian rupee that we have printed, there's nothing backing it. It's just the belief in the system or the Indian government by the people. And one day when the belief fails, that's when the Zimbabwe's or the Venezuela's happen. All right. And the belief is maintained by force, by the way. It is coercion. So it is like, think of this. In India, if you say that Vinay, if you're going to say, I'm going to print the Vinay rupee, or if Nithin is going to say, I'm going to print the Nithin rupee, they're going to put us in jail. So same thing in US. If we try to print the Nithin dollar or the Vinay dollar, they'll put us in jail. So they force us to use the dollar or the rupee in those specific countries and make it as legal tender, saying that everybody who sells something has to take this rupee or this fiat currency. And because of that, it is just running. So that way, cryptocurrency is also backed by the trust of the people. It's a belief system. Money or currency, anything becoming money is nothing but a belief system. It has got nothing else, all right? It's like gold. Think of gold. It's a very simple example. Now, gold, who uses gold? Indian women are the only buyers of gold. And how much is the price of gold? It's 1,500, somewhere around 1,500 to $1,800 an ounce. But what decides that price of gold? Does it have any real use? It's just a silver, it's just a shiny yellow metal. It has absolutely no use besides for jewelry for Indian women. I mean, no other country people, they even use it for putting their jewelry or making their jewelry. So it's a belief in this thought that gold is not easy to forge. It is a scarce metal. So scarce things will have value. Like useful things might not have that much price. Like water is more useful than diamond, but what commands more money? It's diamonds. Why? Diamonds are rare. Water is plenty. Let's assume there's a day that water is so scarce, water will have a higher price than a diamond. So any currency or anything of value is backed by nothing but belief systems. So it's pricing is called something called, yeah, okay, go ahead.
That's a great explanation. Let's come to, ROI. You said ROI on crypto has been very good, 9 years. That I understand. But if you look at the last 3 years ROI, right? Okay, because people do look at the short term also.
Short term,
right?
Yeah.
So the semiconductor index went up by around 156%. NASDAQ went up by 89%. S&P went up by 63%, and Dow went up by 37%. So where is the crypto index standing as of now on those 3 years ROI?
So if you look at it 3 years ago, so this is 2022. So that means from 2019 to today, right? That's what, or 2018 and or 19, right? So I would, I can quickly look at it, but it's somewhere around 5,000 to 6,000 was what Bitcoin was. Okay. And Ethereum was around 100 or $150. So where is Bitcoin today? It's at $35,000. So what is it? 6-7 times, 700%, and or 600%, or where is Ethereum at? It's gone from 150 to 3,000, right? So that's another, 20x, right?
Yeah. So even in the short term, Bitcoin is winning, right? That's what it looks
short term also. See, there is no asset class in history that has given this kind of an ROI. You can compare it to real estate, semiconductor, you can take individual stocks, like you can take Facebook, Amazon, Netflix. These are the major stocks that have given the biggest returns on the S&P 500. They are not even close. Bitcoin beats it by a very big margin. If you take, you take at least minimum 3 years or 3 to 10 years, because you don't take short intervals, because that can be anomalies. Whereas even if you're trying to start a fund, when you go and try to raise money, you have to show a minimum 3 year track record. If you're a new guy, most people will ask you for a 5-year track record to see how you're doing. Well, Bitcoin is doing it for 10, 12 years without fail. If you look at that long, that if you draw a single line, if you look at that graph, it's just going up and up and up.
Okay, I mean, that's interesting. And you talk about Ethereum, right? Okay, so can you explain to our audience what is Ethereum and what are the smart contracts which are related and why they are so important, right?
All right. So Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. Now, what was it? Let me try to explain this. Okay, cryptocurrency is, just think of it as money, or it is like a digital form of money without the use of a central party or a middleman. So let me explain the present form of money that we have. The present form of money, when you want to send it to somebody, when you use your bank account, it passes through the bank. Eventually, let's assume I'm trying to send my money from here, from the US to India. When I'm sending it from my bank, it has to go through the Federal Wire or the SWIFT or something like that. So they can block it, or they can decide to let me send the money. All right. An example of them blocking it would be like, some businesses are not allowed in the US, like take the cannabis business or the marijuana business. It is federally not allowed, but state-wise, 30 states have allowed. So you can't have a bank account because it's not allowed in the federal charter. So the middleman can stop you from using the currency because he has control over the currency. He holds the keys to the currency. All right. Now, Bitcoin is a way of sending value over the wire without a middleman. It's digital money. You can send it across the wire. It's just like the internet. The internet was about sending information over the wire without a middleman. So before the internet came up, you had to rely on your government or news mechanisms or news channels to see what is news. They would tell you this is the truth. The problem with that is they can always alter the truth, and they have always done it. You can take the 2003 war which was the US-Iraq war. It was based on a report by New York Times. That's how the George Bush administration said that we are going to war because the New York Times has said that they have weapons of mass destruction. There was never weapons of mass destruction, and they went into war. You can take in India, there was something called the spy case scandal in the 1990s. It was brought forward by a very prominent paper, Malayalam Manorama, and they put some of the scientists in jail saying that they had some relationship with a spy from Maldives, and they sold the space research secrets. They put those guys in jail. He fought for 20 years and they exonerated him. And what is the result of this? Middlemen, they become very powerful. And when they become powerful, they try to alter the reality. So what happened because of that? In the US now, there's not a single paper besides Wall Street Journal that's profitable anymore. So papers have become toys for rich people, whether it's Washington Post or New York Times. So the ability to connect to the internet, nobody can stop you. If you have access to a Wi-Fi, even if there is a walled garden like China, if you have a VPN, you can connect to the internet and you can send information without anybody blocking you. Same thing with money. Governments block you, the state blocks you. If you're in India, try sending money to Japan overnight. So try sending 10,000, $5, 1 cent. The government is going to block you from sending that money. Why? They don't want a flight of currency, because they know that if they allow that, especially in India's case, people are going to flee with their money and put it in something else. So they will stop that. Now, US is an open currency. We can do that. So the middleman, and so Bitcoin is nothing but, as I said, something that you can send value over the wire without one middleman who can block you from it. Now, so this is just digital money at that point. Now, Ethereum was the second major cryptocurrency that became adopted by the market, because there you could have something called smart contracts. Now, what is a contract? Contract is an agreement. Usually, when two companies come into a process, we say, okay, you have to meet certain requirements and you have to follow, you have to do these things based on some legal contract. How do we make sure it's done? People have to read through it and make sure that everybody is following this, right? An example for a contract is, imagine you're buying flight insurance. You go online, you purchase an insurance. So you purchase insurance, and then, so let's say you buy a flight for $250, you take an insurance, and if the flight does not leave, you have to send them the ticket and all those details, and somebody over there will verify all those things, and in maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks, they will send you your $250 back. So imagine there's a smart contract. You send the money to the contract. The contract is always checking, okay, you said I'm taking the flight, the 10:30 flight from JFK to Los Angeles or to Delhi. And at 10:30, they will check, did the flight leave on time, or has it been canceled? And if it's canceled, on that spot, they can send money to my wallet, which is the whole $250. You don't need a person checking that, which the moment you don't need a person checking that, the cost of that insurance will go down. Every time you have a middleman, they're providing a service that they're doing all these verification and things like that, it becomes expensive. So making these smart, you are bringing the cost down. That's what a smart contract does. It is minimizing trust in people. It is relying on code at that point.
That's great. I mean, that's a very interesting point which you made regarding the smart contracts, right? And I think that is definitely smart contract, as for me, also are going a long way right now, because that is what is needed for the market. Otherwise, you have to worry about so many conditions, right? Okay, what will happen if this happens? What will happen if this happens? If you have a smart contract, and if you can get the money in case that the particular event happens back to your, basically account without filling up all those forms which you have to do, right? For particularly the airline cancellation. Look at the life, how much life is easy, right? And how much time is being saved by both the person as well as the airline people also, right?
Right,
both
exactly.
are saving time, right?
Right, you're saving time.
That's
you can use that time for something more useful than that.
Yeah.
Every time you have a technology
productive.
that is coming in, yeah, you can make people more productive. Exactly.
There's another question coming up, and that is, I think it was also a question I was going to ask. What is mining, and what, should people be doing mining now? And where is it more, kind of which particular coin it is more effective? Okay,
sure. Let's try to explain mining, okay? So to get that, okay, so think of it this way. gold. And I'm going to explain this. I'm going to use analogies over here because it's like this. It's very hard to understand Bitcoin because it cannot be explained in one sentence. You can bring analogies. So think of it this way. You have gold. I told you one of the reasons why gold is valuable or has a price is because people attribute that value to it, and they've been using it historically. They know that only little amount of gold can be mined every year. Mining means somebody is digging to find a new gold. So when they are digging, they're spending energy, right? There is a diesel generator working, or some form of energy is converted to digging. There are people working, and they get gold. And they are hoping that the amount of gold they find will make it worthwhile for the time they've spent, plus some profit with respect to the price of gold in the market. Okay. Now, Bitcoin is something like that. So there is Bitcoin in the market, and every time somebody is digging and finding the new Bitcoin, that process is called mining. It's not done by physical digging. The digging is solving a mathematical puzzle, and it's done by a machine that keeps churning. It's trying to solve that puzzle, which kind of does it kind of on an average time every 10 minutes. Now, why do you need this thing? So let me explain why you need mining. So in our physical currency world, what is happening is when I send a transaction, when I send $100 from my account to, let's say an example, to Vinay's account. So $100 is debited from my account and it's credited to Vinay's account by my bank. Let's assume we are both using a different banks. Let's say Vinay is using IDBI and I'm using ICICI. I send money from my ICICI account. So they debited this and they've sent that message to IDBI, which will credit Vinay's account. So what they are doing is they are changing the database, updating a database. Now, behind the scenes, they do something called a clearing and settlement, which usually happens in T+2, in 2 days after the real transaction. Somebody physically somehow moves that money behind the scenes from one bank to the other. Okay, there is a way for it, where it's digital or physical. Once upon a time, it's physical. Now it's digital. So what is happening is that system, what that bank is doing is it is reaching a state of finality. What is state of finality? What is the state? 100 rupees, which belonged to me, today it belongs to Vinay after I send it. So according to every system, earlier Nithin had $100. Now Vinay has that $100. That is what the bank or the Federal Reserve or RBI together are doing. They are making sure that they're showing who owns this thing. So if you're taking Facebook, what does Facebook show you? They're showing in their database who has how many likes, who is the owner of that, who posted that content. If you take Amazon, they're showing on their front-end screen, this is what we have listed out here. If somebody buys it, it belongs to him. We are making sure he receives the asset and we get the money. So in Bitcoin, when a transaction happens, somebody has to write it on some database to show that, because if I had 10 Bitcoins and I sent 2 of it to Vinay, everybody should know that now Vinay had 2 and I have 8. It has to be written on a ledger. In the bank, it was a very big database. In the Bitcoin place, it's a small kind of a database. It's constructed in such a way that the size is not very big, but everybody in the system knows who has 10, who has 8, who has 2 right now. And that process of making the state final, and whoever finds that solves that value, is called mining. And they get some rewards in new Bitcoins or transaction fees. Now, is it profitable? See, mining right now is a very specialized business. Okay, mining, you need mining is about capacity. You need stronger, harder, or faster machines to do the mining. It's finding a solution to a problem. So your machine has to be faster, then you have a higher chance. So it's a very capital intensive process today. You can do it at home. It's very easy to do it at home. You can learn more about the system. But then how much is your electricity cost? Just as I said, and when people are digging for new gold, there's a cost to it, right? What is the diesel price at that time? So same way, if your cost of electricity makes sense to do mining and you can get Bitcoins, then it makes sense. Imagine somebody is getting at 2 cents and you're getting at 12 cents. It doesn't make sense for you to fight for that market with the guy who's getting electricity at 2 cents. So those are the considerations that come when you're trying to do mining. Cost of doing it,
Nithin,
cost of the equipment.
Nithin, thank you. There's a question related with this, basically mining again, and this is from Christian. We hear about some cryptos which are moving like Ether, which are moving away from proof of work to proof of stake.
Proof of stake.
How will this impact those mining today, and is it still profitable?
Okay, so proof of work is this whole machine doing, the machines doing the work and finding the answer and getting the reward. So that consumes a lot of energy. And because of that, there are systems out there that do something called proof of stake. So they are securing the system by the ownership of the coin and people putting it over there to make sure the system is secure. Now, once it becomes proof of work, those systems are not doing mining. They do something called staking, all right? So there, mining is not the point. Now there, is it profitable? It depends. Some of those could end up being profitable. Like they are saying in staking, there is a reward. The person who is staking, he will get a reward. And it'll all depend at that point in time. Is it valuable? There are so many stake coins out there which are not valuable or which does not have a great price or does not have a great reward. Ethereum is very profitable right now. I don't know what it will be in the future. So can't say for sure. Will it remain profitable? It is profitable right now.
Thank you, Nithin. There's another question which is there, but before that, I'll ask one related question from my own list of questions. And I'll, because there's a question from Lalit Grover, but we'll go to that question after I ask you this question. Shiba Inu, right? I hope I spelled the name correctly. What's that story, right?
So Shiba Inu is the Japanese dog meme. Okay, so there was Dogecoin, which was the US meme coin. So when cryptos, people can make any number of cryptos, all right? Just like you have stocks. It's you don't only have Reliance and Tesla out there. There are 10,000s of stocks, which many of them have zero value, right? Or it's running on the penny stock exchange, kind of. Those are penny stocks. Same with crypto, you can make your own crypto. So Doge was this crypto made years ago by, I forgot his name. He did it as a meme thing, and people started buying it. So it has a price. When people start buying things because of demand and more people are buying it, there's a price, but it's a meme coin. They produce 10,000 of those Doges every minute. It has a price because a lot of people who don't understand this properly, what they're doing, what they're thinking is, I missed Bitcoin when it was 1 cent. It's become $35,000. Why don't I buy Doge, which is 0.00001 cent? And maybe what if it becomes $10,000? I can only see that logic behind it. Then again, Elon Musk, for sake of fun, he would write Doge, and he's a very big influencer. Now people are buying it. And majority of this big buying in Doge happened after people sat at home and started trading on Robinhood. Everybody can click very easy on a button, can buy for $10 and all those things, right? You can buy a lot and hope that it goes up. So Shiba Inu is the Japanese equivalent. It was made anonymously. It got a huge market cap because the guy sent 8 billion of that to Vitalik, and Vitalik just burned 7 billion away and gave 1 billion to India for the COVID relief at that time, flood COVID relief. And obviously people are buying that. It's caused this meme. It's a meme coin, but they have other features. They've added features that you can do staking or multiple things like that. So what happened is it went from 0.9 zeros or 10 zeros and a 1 to 0.3 zeros and a 1, which is like a million times return in a span of a year from October 2020 to October 2021. So if you had invested $1,000, you would be worth $1 billion, and it was very liquid in the market. So, there is never anything like that has happened in any asset class where you can put $1,000 and it has gone 1,000,000 times in a year because people are just buying, right? Very hard to see that. And being liquid, you can show that, my house is worth $1 billion, but if nobody is willing to buy it, there's no market. You can just say that my house is worth $1 billion, but here it was very liquid in the market. So that's the Shiba Inu story.
Thank you, Nithin. And so let's take Lalit Grover's question because that is related. He says, what are the, apart from few cryptos, how effective are other in market for investors? Don't you think and second question he has asked, don't you think there should be a control on new cryptos coming in market to keep cryptos effective? Can you take one by one?
How effective are other cryptos in market for investors? See, what do you mean by effective? If the question is, will the price go up? I don't know. Many of these things price have gone up. Even last year, Solana has gone up 100 times. After it has happened, it's very easy to look at it. Okay, now what are these new cryptos? You can do a lot more research. Okay, so basically, there was a scaling problem, or the number of transactions were less on Ethereum. So people came up with the layer 2 solutions, like Matic from India or Polygon was a layer 2 sidechain or a commit chain. And that did very well. So Solana did it in a different way, but they are compromising on decentralization. They are doing more transactions. So all these guys are attacking the same problem in a different fashion. Some are more decentralized and secure. Some are less decentralized, but they have more transactions. So, all these things are trying to do something else on top of the first one that was created, or something new, saying that, the previous one, it's great, but we are going to do something better. Now, will it end up being great, or do you think it will replace Bitcoin or Ethereum? I don't know. I don't know the future. It's like this. There used to be search engines before Google, before Google came to the market. There was Yahoo, there was Alta Vista. All those things don't even exist anymore. So same way, maybe Bitcoin won't exist. It could be one of these coins. But it's going to be very hard right now, because this is where the market or the network effects, or everybody is believing in this. And the second part of the question, don't you think there should be a control on new crypto? See, I don't believe in control. I believe everybody should be able to put their own stuff, whether it's a scam guy or not. Now, the beauty of that is people should do their own research, rather than saying, you know what, the government should control and he should decide what should come to the market. Because if that argument is true, we are assuming that all these people in government know better than us, or they are way more intelligent. It's like saying, we don't know how to think for ourselves, but we can vote for the person who can think for us, which means to say he's clearly telling us that you don't know how to look after yourself or your money. We will do it for you. An example of that is when Lehman Brothers went to zero, which is one of the great banks in the US in 2008. It was completely sanctioned by the government, regulated. It went to zero. You lost your money. Did the government give you your money back? No. When Kingfisher went to zero, does the government give you your money back? Nothing like that happens. So you lost your money, whether there is government control or there's no government control. Actually, if there is no control, I prefer that, because then more people can do stuff cheaper. And you will also start researching these things properly, rather than saying, you know what, the government will take care of my money. I just have to put it out there. All right. That's my take on this.
Thank you, Nithin. So that brings me to one of, I think, again, let's take up, since Lalit has asked about other coins, right, and other, cryptos. So what about the NFT story, right? Because that has been also very popular nowadays, right?
Sure. So NFTs are something called a non-fungible token. So let's explain Bitcoin. So money has functions and properties, all right? So money's functions are, it should be a store of wealth, it should be a medium of exchange, and it should be a unit of accounts. Those are the three functions of money. Now, there are properties of money. Your money should be homogeneous, or your money should be fungible. It's like this. So let's assume, Vinay, I take $100 from you. I can give you another $100 note when I give it back to you. I don't have to give you the same $100 note. It's the same thing, right? Whereas if I took your house for loan, let's say I've taken, hey, Vinay, I just want to borrow your house. I can't give you some other house back, right? It's not the same thing. So that's the difference between fungible and non-fungible. So fungible tokens are share certificates. Let's say I take 100 Apple from you. If I bought 100 Apple, and if I want to sell it back to you, I don't have to sell you back the same 100 Apple. I can give you any 100 Apple shares. It's the same thing. So that's fungibility. Whereas the other one is called a non-fungible token. So paintings are non-fungible. One painting and the other painting are not the same. They're two different things, all right? So NFTs are non-fungible tokens that were made. It started with the CryptoPunks. A guy made these 10,000 images, and each of them were coded on the smart contract. And now when you buy one of those things, you are the owner. Now, that does not mean somebody can't copy your picture. You could have a picture, the punk, if you have seen a punk. Right now, punks are trading for more, the minimum price, it's $300,000 for these punks, which are maybe selling for $1 or $10 4 years ago. And the highest price of one punk or this painting was $24 million, which happened recently, all right? So it's just a painting. It's a digital painting, which you can copy. Now, there is an argument that if people can copy, so what's so great about this painting? Well, the painting market or art market works very different. Imagine the Mona Lisa in the Louvre Museum. You can make somebody draw that better than how Da Vinci drew it years ago. Will that become this? Will it fetch the same price? Is that the Mona Lisa over there? You can take a picture of it or you can take a photocopy of it. But all those are not the exact original. Same way in CryptoPunks or CryptoKitties, all these images that got created, you can show true ownership. So that is possible with this technology, the whole Bitcoin, the consensus mechanisms and smart contracts and all these things together. You can show that you are the owner. So earlier, if we had a picture, if I sent you a picture and you took a copy of it, I couldn't say, I'm the owner of that picture now because you got a copy of it. Here, even though you have a copy of the picture, the original picture's owner, through the smart contract, we can find that, I'm the owner, so I only have the right to sell that thing. That's the difference. So that's a non-fungible token.
That's very great explanation, Nithin, because people, I think people will now understand what is the difference between a regular crypto and what is the difference. So over here you are actually selling something which basically is a, particular thing, right? You cannot sell something else in place of that, right? So it's a unique thing you're selling, right?
See,
that's it.
People are still scamming people out there. Don't think that there's no scamming happening. So it's just like the art market. If you look at the art market, so people are selling fake art, right? Saying that this is Leonardo da Vinci's painting that I found from somewhere. So same thing is going to happen here. So you have to verify the contract. In the art market, there are people who used to, study the painting, these auction houses, they have specialists who can tell that, okay, this is not an original painting. This is actually a forgery and stuff like that. Same way in crypto, people are selling fake stuff. It's easier to figure that fake stuff out. That's all.
Very good. Thank you so much on this. And let's, I have so many questions which are shooting up. Let's take Subhash Bujle question. And that is why you think Bitcoin and Ethereum won't just be replaced by competitors.
Yeah, I'm not saying it won't be replaced by competitors. I didn't say that. I'm just saying it's hard once you have network effects. So let me explain network effects. So Facebook, think of Facebook. There are 3 billion people on Facebook across the world. So let's assume I make a better Facebook. Let's assume I can code better than Mark Zuckerberg and all those guys, and I make this wonderful Facebook better than Facebook. But as long as my friends and everybody is on Facebook and I can't bring people here, I will have to go back to Facebook to even just chat with my friends or post a picture or like a picture, right? So it's very hard from a system that has such large network effects to pull them out. It's very easy to create a system, but not easy to pull people who are entrenched in a system. So that way, Bitcoin is where all the enthusiasts and all are using it, okay? So right now, even the banks and the big hedge funds and the investment funds are coming onto Bitcoin. Ethereum is where all the developers are. So they are creating, every time they create a new thing, it's coming on Ethereum. Now, Solana and everybody is copying it, but that's where the development community is. There are 10,000 developers maybe on Ethereum, and they could be at best 500 to 1,000 people on the Solanas and all these things. So I'm not saying it won't be replaced. It's hard to replace them. That is what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Nithin. That's a great answer. And, there are two questions which I think are almost similar. One is from Christian and second one is from Amit. And basically their question is related to, how do you decide between different cryptos, right? Where to invest, where not to invest, right? Okay. So because there are so many of them coming up now, So what is your tip basically on that? Right?
One is you look at who are the people behind it. Second thing is how many people are interested in it, all right? And then it's like, is it solving a problem, or is it maybe a great meme, or is it marketed by great people? So one is there a great technology behind it? The more important piece is, do these people know how to market it? All right. And many of these things we'll only know after the marketing happens. So don't take this as investment advice. This is not about investment. It's about trying to understand the technology. Okay. So making money from these things are not the only things, but trading or just investing is not the only thing. This has solved a very big computer science problem, and that is why all the VCs are pouring money into this crypto market. So early signs are going to be very hard because it is changing every year. Every year right now, the new projects that are being successful are not having the same features of the last year's successful project. So you have to be entrenched in the market. You have to read, you have to know. And finding that right one might still end up being luck. But if you know more, it's just that you have a better chance to position yourself for that luck to happen to you. End of the day, user base. People who are having more users, people who are buying that, when you look at that, that sounds like a great one sometimes, not always.
That's interesting pointer. And coming back to, let's look into some of our other questions which I wanted to ask you. And people, crypto and blockchain has been kind of intermingled, right? Okay. So can you please explain the difference? I mean, they of course use maybe similar thing, but can you explain the difference between crypto and the blockchain?
So let's explain the term crypto. Crypto is just is from the Greek meaning hidden. Okay, so it's basically fundamentally when you say Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, it just means that it is like money. Currency is the general money in use at a particular place. Okay, crypto means hidden. So what is hidden over here? It is your signature that is hidden by something called a hash code. All right, or hashing mechanism. So it is allowing you, so think of it as writing a check. So earlier, when we used to go to our bank, all right, we used to write a check. So we used to write the name of the person who we want to send it to. So let's assume I am sending $100 to Vinay. I would say pay to Vinay or Vinay's account number. I would put $100, then I would put my signature. So what do I have? I have Vinay's account number, the amount I want to send, and my signature, all right? So Vinay's bank would check, okay, Vinay's account, then they would check, does my signature matches with the one that I'd given to the bank? And then they will debit $100 from my account and put it in Vinay's account. In the blockchain world, what is happening is you're using hashing to make something called a private key and a public key. So it uses an algorithm. So the public key is it's like Vinay's name or an address where I can send my money to. So I use Vinay's public address, which is like a 16-digit number, and then I put 100, or let's say if I want to send him 5 Bitcoins, I'll say 5. And there is a private key, which is used as my signature. Now, only I know my private key, and you cannot make the private key from the public key. And that is how this money is being sent, or this cryptocurrency is being sent. Okay. Now, Vinay, what was that exact question? Let's go back to that question.
Question is, how to, kind of know the differences between, I know blockchain is being used by cryptocurrency, many of them.
Cryptocurrency,
but what does actually in general blockchain mean, right?
Okay. So cryptocurrency, now you saw that how I send money, which I needed an account, I needed hash address and stuff. Now this has to be written on a ledger, and that ledger is called a blockchain because you have the first transaction, which is in a block. Now, let's say I send money to Vinay. Let's assume that's the only transaction. It came on the first block. It's written over there. The next transaction, let's say Vinay sent to Arvind. That's the next transaction. It's written on the second block. And this is connected to each other, okay? And anytime you try to change even one digit over there, the whole thing becomes wrong, so that you know that somebody is trying to tamper with it. So blockchain is a chain of blocks, or a chain of these addresses which are connected to each other. Now that blockchain is the ledger. Addresses and all this together, addresses, proof of work or mining or proof of stake, one consensus mechanism, the hash codes, the signatures, and the blockchain together make this ecosystem possible. Bitcoin is the name of that cryptocurrency. Because it uses this technology, it's just called cryptocurrency. Blockchain is just one piece of it. So people always have, people used to tell me, I don't like crypto, but I like this thing called blockchain. So I used to tell them, that means you like a database. And this blockchain is a very append-only database. For people to understand, you can just write on it. So Oracle or something like that, those kind of database, at least you can write a select star, it has a lot of queries. This is just written on a text file to keep the size very low so that it can be decentralized. So your typical banks, they have a lot of accounts and all those things, right? They have a lot of transactions. They need a huge database to store this. Then they need their backups and all those things. So we can't even make it decentralized. If you want to run it on your local machine, you can't do that. So Bitcoin, with all these 13 years of transactions, it has only reached 300 GB. So basically, you can run a Bitcoin node on your laptop. You can't run a bank's database on your laptop. So blockchain is just a database. Bitcoin uses the blockchain database or the distributed ledger. There are better distributed ledgers out there. So without the crypto, this blockchain is kind of useless. So a lot of companies, whether in India or US, people would say, I love blockchain. Those guys have remained poor. I'll tell you that. If you didn't buy crypto, they say, oh, we don't like crypto, we like blockchain. You could have just used any better database, right? So they really don't even get the ethos of this whole thing. That's why they are talking all this bullshit at that point.
Thank you, Nithin. That was a great explanation. I hope people will have a clear understanding. And
Okay.
there are multiple questions now coming up.
So
and
Vinay, I see a question. What is the underlying value in cryptos from Ravi Chandran? Can we compare it with the tulip story? Demand is driving up the price without any substantial underlying. That's what his question is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling, this is like tulips. So Ravi Chandran, let me explain to you what tulips are. Tulip thing, it's called the Tulip Bubble, happened in Amsterdam or in Netherlands. Okay. Tulip bulbs, which, some new tulip bulbs are coming over there. By the way, you got to understand, Amsterdam or Netherlands is where the first stock exchange was ever built in the world. They had the first IPO, all right? So they were a very prosperous nation. The Dutch East India Company, have you heard of that? They came there, and because they lost in the Battle of Colechel, after that, that's when the British East India Company took over. So tulips, the spot price, imagine the spot price, that is today's price of a tulip is $1. At that time, there used to be futures price. So the tulip bubble happened from 1637 November to 1638 February. It lasted for 3 months. The futures price of tulip went up crazy. It's because settlements were not happening. But when it came to settle, the spot price of tulip did not go up so much. That's why it's called a bubble. It was a tulip bulb, so it was a tulip bubble. You can't compare Bitcoin to that. See, no bubble or fraud. If this was a fraud, it can't go on for 13 years. Somebody would have caught it by that time. Okay, people are always, so there, if you look at, there's a site called Bitcoin Obituaries. It is written like, JP Morgan, Warren Buffett, all the presidents, whether it's China, all the governments, to all these financial wizards, to these bankers, they always, like the deputy RBI governor right now is saying, this is a Ponzi scheme. First of all, Ponzi scheme is I take money from you saying that I'll give you another money. Bitcoin is not doing a Ponzi scheme. Like this is like saying gold is a Ponzi scheme. If you buy gold, you will have always a piece of gold. You don't know what the price of gold is going to be. It can be up or down from where you bought it. Same way with Bitcoin. If you buy a Bitcoin, you will always have that Bitcoin with you as long as you're not hacked or something like that. The price of Bitcoin can be 100,000, a million, or it can go to zero. So most of these guys, the people in the state or government, they will try their best to not to make this legit. They don't want people entering this. The state or a government in any country, they control people by their control over information, money, and guns. These are the 3 ways a state will control its citizens. Information control is kind of lost because the internet came and they didn't know what to do with it. Money, they will fight tooth and nail to have control over money, because the moment the politician or the state or the bureaucrats do not have control over money, they will quickly start losing the control over the people. People will try as much as possible to keep that control. Okay, so tulips of anything, whether it's Tesla stock, whether it's Reliance stock, it is gold in the market, or it's water, the price of anything is just driven by demand. Whether there's something underneath or not, it's immaterial, because only things with substantial underlying should have value. It's not true. This is like saying, earlier, I could, we used to write snail mails. Okay, my mother still does that. You're writing a mail, you could touch it, you could feel it, then only it becomes mail. No, you can send a digital mail. It doesn't exist. It's virtual ones and zeros that sits server, but it is giving you the message what something, a tangible thing. Your wallet just has to show you what is your balance all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great, Nithin. That's a great answer. And there are a lot of questions floating in on, like you talk about government also, that they don't want to lose the control. So governments are also coming up, with the cryptocurrencies now, or something related with the digital money, what they call, right? Okay. So I will mix up 2-3 questions. One is that, you can talk about what government is doing with the digital money. And why they are doing it? Because in the market, there is a feeling that cryptocurrencies are used for illegal activities, or they are being used for black money. So can you please mix up these 2-3 questions and answer?
Okay. Sure. Sure. So first, let me explain that myth to people, okay? You go to any terrorist in the world, okay? So let's say a bomber terrorist or smart guy or an idiot guy. He has to be a true idiot to accept Bitcoin for bombing or for ransomware because he'll get caught. The number one preference of any terrorist or bomber in the world to get paid, or a ransomware guy, is they want the US dollar because you cannot track it. 0.15% of illegal activity happens through cryptocurrencies, which means 99.85% of all illegal activity happens with the regular fiat currency, whether it's rupee or dollar. And the number one preference for all these guys is a dollar, all right? Because anytime you use this for any illegal activity, you're always being tracked. So 2016, there was a DAO hack, a guy, not the DAO, being caught right now because they tried to move it, all right? Whereas if they did it in dollar, there was no way we could track them, okay? Now, CBDCs or government, the central currencies, everybody's trying to issue their own currency. India is saying they're going to come with theirs, US is going to come with theirs, okay. So first of all, today's currency that India has is a digital currency. It works on the digits. When they're saying, I am going to make mine a central bank developed, digital currency, what are they saying? We don't believe in our own currency, so we're going to come up with another currency. By the way, that was also a rupee. This is also a rupee. So what are they trying to achieve over here? By the way, we control the rupee. The difference with Bitcoin is I can use it, you can use it, anybody can use it from anywhere in the world. So with their currency, they're still going to decide whether you can use it or not. I don't know what they are trying to achieve over here, just besides trying to put wool over people's eyes. Personally, if I like my US dollar or my Indian rupee, I didn't need a digital version of it, all right? So India is not going to allow the transfer of your money in an open market to Thailand or USA or any bank, digital rupee or not. It doesn't make any benefit for all of us. That's my point over there, okay?
That's great answer again, Nithin. And there is a question related with the, I think this is from Nandan Prab. And he says, why there is so much of fluctuation in the price of crypto is going up and down, right? So what is the reason?
Okay. So, okay, technically, sure. Assets that are nascent will have a rush of people coming in and rush of people trying to get out and all those things, okay? Assets that are like take a blue chip stock and a stock that is a growth stock. Blue chip stocks are what most people invest in. It just doesn't move so much in one shot. Whereas the growth stocks like the Teslas and all, people are rushing to buy in because they are hoping some great thing will happen. So it'll fluctuate, it'll go up a lot and it'll go down a lot. Same with crypto, okay? So it's a nascent asset where in some points in time, people are rushing to get in, and then they bought at the high, they will sell it. So that is what causes the fluctuation, because there's a huge demand or sometimes there's a huge selling that's going on because there are traders involved, there are speculators involved. At some point in time, let's assume if 3 billion or 7 billion people are using Bitcoin, after that it'll kind of stabilize, whatever is that stable price at that time. So why do you think this price fluctuation is bad is my question. So you're saying, oh, it is going up and down. I told you, draw a graph from 2009 to today. It went from 0.01 to it's reached 35,000. So in between, if you look at it, it might be going like this. But does that matter? You look at the long-term graph, it looks like this, all right? Price fluctuating, you can think of it the other way. Your dollar is going up and down in the reverse direction, right? Nobody's thinking of that. So currencies, price is a ratio. When you say a burger is $6, which means that for one one burger, it costs $6. It's a ratio between a burger to the number of dollars. Okay, price is just a ratio. These ratios can keep changing.
Thank you, Nitin. There are a couple of more questions. Let me take it up,
Sure.
and then I'll ask my question. One is that I think this is from BKM. Can we believe that PI coin can become another Bitcoin?
I have no clue.
No clue about PI coin?
I don't know whether it's a scam or a real coin. I don't even know what PI coin is. By the way, there are 10,000 coins. I need not know all the coins, but I have no clue what it is. Okay. The idea is not to comment on specific cryptocurrencies.
Not a problem. There is another question related to mining rather, and that is from Christian. And this is, would you recommend mining locally using a GPU, CPUs, outsource the work to cloud, or just buy crypto? Out of these three, what is that your recommendation is?
Okay. I don't have a specific recommendation. As I said, mining is a major capex operation. There are a lot of people who are doing mining in a very professional way, or you can do it at your home also. See, the whole thing of mining is this. So think of, let's assume the ant miner is $6,000. All right. You buy that. You have to deploy it at home, make sure that you have power all the time. And over the course of the next 12 months, you're going to get a little bit of Bitcoin every month or every day, a little bit together, hoping that you can recover $6,000 if the Bitcoin price remains flat. Okay. Now, instead of that, there are other ways you can try to get into the market. You can decide, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin on day one for $6,000. That's one tenth of a Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, I'll get the whole appreciation. In the other whole appreciation, I have to first recover the cost of the mine. And by the time I recover that and hoping to make a profit after that, maybe the new version of the miner will come out, which will be faster than this miner. I might not be able to recover my cost. Also, let's assume it's getting this Bitcoin little by little and the price of Bitcoin fell down. You're going to lose money that way. So I prefer buying Bitcoin. So mining is a whole different operation right now from a professional level. So the guys who are doing it in large scale, they are putting in a lot of money. They're raising money. They're finding the place that has cheaper electricity or renewable energy. Very different game.
Okay. Thank you, Nitin. I think that is a very clear-cut answer rather, right? Okay. And now people are asking about whether, like Jankiram has asked, whether, the blockchain is hacker-proof. And Chandra also, I think, is asking, can I be hacked? Okay. So, basically, what is kind of, hacking possible in the crypto space and the blockchain space, right? Okay.
Got it. So Bitcoin, for example, till date, nobody has hacked Bitcoin. The system is 99.99, close to 100% SLA up, all right? Your wallet can be hacked. So let's assume you're having your Bitcoin in a wallet. There's a private key and a public key. Maybe you stored it publicly somewhere and somebody hacked your wallet. Or they put a gun on your head and you said you gave them your code. You can lose your coins. The system has not been hacked because the cost of hacking Bitcoin is higher than buying the Bitcoin itself right now. Because you have to go and change the votes of more than 50% of the machines in the pool and try to change this thing. Now, when you change that, you have to deploy so many machines, which will cost you. It will cost you electricity to change this. And let's assume you own the coins, the price is going to go down because you were able to do this. It's just simpler to just go buy all the coins out there. So the question, can you be hacked? Yes, you can be hacked. It's as simple. There could be a user error and you could be hacked. Maybe there's quantum computing that's going to come and hack the current the SHA-256 algo. But then Bitcoin will upgrade to a quantum resistant algo. All right.
Thank you. Nitin, there are many more questions which I'll ask, but I have one question. We all be talking from the investor angle. There is a question which I want to ask because you have said in one of your saying that crypto is power to the people, right? And I think from that angle, you also quote, that remittance to India is $83 billion. It costs almost 8%, right? Okay. And then you talk about also, the lending, basically, it is almost close to 5 to 18% and deposit is 1%. And then you talk about unbanked, population also, which is close to 2 billion. So my question is, how do you think it is the crypto is going to help the people, right? Because all these are related questions, right? General public, how it is
Correct.
helping,
So,
right?
sure. So I'll even bring the hold on. So let's talk about the the unbanked. Okay. So across the world, you know, we live in India or US, and most people that we know have a bank account, right? There are 3 billion people across this world who do not have a bank account. Now, most of these problems started from 2001, when 9/11 happened, because after that, it's about KYC, AML, and all those things. So if you want a bank account, first of all, you need KYC, AML, right? Now, KYC, AML, you have to show proof of your residence and all these things. If you take refugees, if you go across Africa where people really don't have land titles and all. So this is, I'm showing on the graph. I don't know if you can see this. I'm sharing this. Vinay, can you see this?
Yeah, we can see
behind the scenes?
Yeah. Nithin, we lost your voice. Nithin, we lost your.
So the moment you don't have a bank account, what happens is, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
yes
you.
or no?
Yeah,
okay.
We can hear you.
So what I'm saying is, okay, so imagine people across the globe who don't have access to a bank account. Let me tell you what is going to happen to them. So when you have access to a bank account, or you can basically access money or capital at a cheaper rate. Okay. So let's say I go to the bank, if I put some collateral or something like that, or if I have no collateral, my interest rate in a place like US is somewhere between, at best, it's going to be 18% with no collateral. And if I have collateral, it might be only 4%. Okay. So when I'm a poor guy, if I want to get out of poverty, let's assume I'm trying to sell something. I have to raise money, buy something, and sell something, right? When it's 4% to 18%, there's a chance for me to make a profit and get out of poverty. Now, if you take across the globe, when you take outside of Western democracies, majority of the world, your interest rates are so high. Have you gone to a sabzi mandi or the market in India? Those are people who do not access a bank. They get it from the money shark or the lender. Do you know how much they charge them? They give them 90 rupees in the morning, and they're supposed to give them back 100 in the evening, right? That's like 10% for a day, all right? That is their cost of capital. When you have a cost of capital that's high, it's very, very, very hard for people in the poorer sections to get out of poverty, all right? So that is, now they can't access a bank because they have to show all these documents, and banks are maybe not available in the next 200 miles. But all these people, whether it's in India or Africa, people are getting a phone. When you have a phone, you have a chance to make a wallet. You can get this money, which does not need KYC or AML. You can transact between people. Maybe you're making a t-shirt, or you made an apple pie. I don't know what you're trying to do, but and people can pay you rather than go through a bank or things like that. So people can lend you directly from anywhere in the world rather than going through banking channels, all right? And the other piece is, so you look at this remittance. India is the biggest receiver of remittance in the world. We get $83 billion a year from people, from our expats or investments or whatever. The average cost is around 8%. So let's, for ease sake, let's think it's 10%. That's like $8 billion a year goes to the middleman, whether it's Hawala channel or banking channel. It goes 8%, or that's like $8 billion just go for the middleman to allow this transaction. Let's assume we are doing this through Bitcoin. It's going to be less than 1%. Or let's you can do it through Matic. It might be 1%. That is the cutoff. And the average time right now is 2 to 3 days or 4 days sometimes to get your money on the other side of the world. If you imagine, I want to send money from US to Japan. I can't even do it from Thursday onward, because by Thursday night, it's Friday night in Japan. So their banking system is out. When it becomes Monday for them, it's Sunday for us. Our banking systems are out. So literally you can send money over there only 3 or 4 days. You can send a Bitcoin or a Matic or any of these or an Ethereum anytime, 24/7, 365 days a year. Look at from that perspective. The other perspective is the civil asset forfeiture. I'm going to give you an example of the Freedom Convoy that happened in the US, right? There were a bunch of truckers that was against the mass mandate and all. and they raised money, which they were protesting. And suddenly the government decided that all those guys, their bank accounts are going to be frozen. People who donated to the cause, their bank accounts are going to be frozen, right? They are, people, the people who used to argue against Bitcoin would say that, oh, this, those kind of things don't happen in Western democracies. But this happened in Canada last week, all right? And Bitcoins were sent to them. So when a government tries to take over your life, something like this, which is not in their control, is very helpful. And it is equally valid for the rich or the poor. I'll give you an example from a rich man. The Freedom Convoy was the poor man's example. From a rich man's example, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you've heard of Prince Alawi, the Saudi prince who was worth $38 billion in 2017. Just by his money being in the S&P, he should have been worth 76 billion or at least 100 billion right now. The guy is only worth 2 billion. You know why? His cousin or Prince Mohammed bin Salman took him to jail. When he came out of jail after 55 days, he only had 2 billion with him. So somebody just took it away. Why? It's because it is a government money. They have control over the money. They can decide to take it. So if you really want to protect your wealth, you should have some money outside the purview of the state. Just like you had demonetization in India, demonetizations have happened in Thailand. Inflation is happening. Money printing is going on. All right.
That's very interesting, Nithin. Arvind, can you look at any questions on the Facebook meanwhile? And I'm going to ask, I think there are 3 more questions which I must ask Nithin before I think we wind up our session. And
okay.
There is a question from Vanchaj Kapoor. What are your suggestions on storing our crypto in cold storage, on the exchange, or on DeFi pools that give interest?
On the DeFi pools. Okay.
Yeah.
So cold storage or in your own, the best is non-custodial with yourself. Okay. Custodial wallets or a middleman. See, crypto is made because we don't trust the middleman, right? And if you're putting on Coinbase or any of those kind of exchanges, a government can clamp down upon them. I'm not saying they are going to, but they can, and they can take your money away. So that way, it's better to have it. Now, when you have it with you on your own wallets, you have to remember your passwords and all those kind of things. So there is that risk, because if you forget that, there's no way you can get your money out. Because if you forget it on a centralized exchange like Coinbase, you can send them an email, send them your passport, and they will recreate or they'll find your password for you. DeFi pools that give interest, that's possible. But again, that also there is a risk, because these DeFi pools can have a bug or an error, and you can lose your money. I'm not saying you will lose your money. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that you understand what you're doing. All 3 things are possible and are all okay ways of storing it. It depends on what are you comfortable with. Like my hardcore libertarian anarcho-capitalist friends, they would never put it on an exchange. There are other people who are perfectly happy to put it on an exchange because they don't want to think about, storing passwords in their mind, or the thought that I might lose my password and never be able to recreate it.
Very interesting. There's another question from Christian regarding, that Puerto Rico has become the tax haven for crypto millionaires. Besides moving to a state with lower taxes, what are the other ways to minimize taxes when investing into crypto?
So investing, when you say, okay, so investing, I'll explain why Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico has this very specific, so it's a US territory. So even if you're in Puerto Rico, you're not in a different country, you're a US citizen, it's part of a US territory. Now, in Puerto Rico, if you go there, when you trade and so typically in the US, let's assume I bought Bitcoin today at 30,000, it went to 60,000. When I sell it, for my gains, I have to pay short-term or long-term taxes depending on how long I held it. So if I sold it for 60, if I'm paying short-term taxes, I might lose 15,000. So if I want to buy it back to make it worthwhile, crypto has to fall below 45. So gains taxes over there in Puerto Rico are somewhere like 0% or 4% for up to 2035. So there, or if you can go to Bahamas, all these places, okay? Now, but in Bahamas, if I still make money, being an American citizen, I have to still report it. So Puerto Rico, for an American, it's a great option. But then you are moving from US, where the infrastructure and everything is good. You're moving to Puerto Rico, where the infrastructure is not that great. that is a place that get hit by hurricanes, major hurricanes, once in 2 years or something like that, where the whole state can go in a blackout kind of a state, right? So if you don't trade, then you don't have to do any of these things. Okay, like I don't trade, I just buy and keep it with me. So if I'm not trading and I'm not selling, I don't have to worry about taxes. So investment, if you're looking at it, so I think of investment as something you're willing to hold for the next 20 years. That's when you see real returns. Then you don't have to move to Puerto Rico for that. If you're looking at this, it's not a tax haven. It's not a tax haven. It's a legit kind of thing at that point. Okay, very, very legit in the US. But then you have to have bought your crypto after reaching there, and then your appreciation. Because if you bought your crypto in the US mainland, then after the appreciation you move there, you still have to pay taxes. Vinay?
Sorry, I was muted actually. So thank you, Nithin. Arvind, you had one question. So what I will ask you is to ask your question, and then maybe you can give vote of thanks to Nithin. Right? Please go ahead, Arvind. You had one question in the beginning itself. You had put a question, right? You have to unmute yourself, Arvind. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, since I was mute for quite a long time, I just went with that flow. I actually saw this question coming on Facebook. Basically, I think money, as we all know, has an inheritance, and somebody can get the ownership of somebody else's money. But what happens to cryptocurrency? Because we know that if the passwords are not known, then the money, then the currency is gone. What happens to it?
Okay, so let's assume I have a son, and I dug and kept $10 million under my bed. I made a vault for it, and I forgot to tell my son that I have $10 million, which I made in a vault. I dug it on my floor. Will my son get it? He doesn't know.
I got your answer.
All right. So right. That is, I have, whether it's my real money or my Bitcoin, if I don't tell my kith or kin, they're not going to get it.
Okay.
All right.
That's very interesting.
There are another two questions out here, Vinay, that I've got. Okay. Why is this? Oh, yeah, I saw this. Okay, sorry. Got it.
We answered all the questions. So I think we had a lot of questions today. So, Arvind, so thank you anyway, Nithin. I will let Arvind give a vote of thanks. Go ahead, Arvind.
Yeah, Nithin, thank you so much for joining us and, literally answering almost every possible question that has come through. And since we also gave you very short time to, come on board to give this, be part of this session. I only hope we had a lot more time, and I think the number of people would have been a lot more, and probably would have had to extend the time to run this session. And I think if in case there's an opportunity, we would like to have you once again on board, because the questions are definitely going to come. Everybody's interest on Bitcoin or the entire episode of cryptocurrency is quite a lot. Even when I told my close contacts that I'm hosting a webinar like this, the craze to be part of it was like at a very high expectation levels. I really thank you for being here at this time on a weekend in the noon. I understand you were also traveling somewhere, and you just stopped by at Vinay's office to be part of this. So I do thank you from everybody's side, and thank you for answering all the questions. I hope Vinay, we can have Nithin again and answer a whole lot of other questions, because the more we hear, it is more interesting, and it motivates everybody to look at this side of the world, which is away from the paper currency that we all have been used to several decades. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Arvind, I just want to add a line. I mean, Nithin was really mesmerizing. Now he kept actually everybody, whosoever joined, actually everybody stayed till the end, right? And it is very
Yes.
difficult for, to get an attention of people for such a good time. And I was really surprised that Nithin could remember also some of the, figures like Tulip Bubble, right? The exact dates, right, Nithin? So that was surprising to me. So you got a very, very good memory, right? Okay, so excellent, rather. So overall, great presentation and great question answer. I hope we will have you back whenever you have some free time. We'll have you back, and our audience will love you. I am very sure. Okay. Thank you, Nithin. Thank you,
Thank you,
Arvind,
Vinay.
and thank you everybody for joining us
Thank you,
today.
everybody.
All right.